Hey guys, we are going to do another video today, and what I want to make with you all is a pesto sauce. And the theme of this pesto is leftovers, because almost all the ingredients except for the pine nuts were things that I had left over in the fridge that were on their last days. So I just wanted to make this so I could make use of that stuff and not have to throw everything away. Well, so the easiest way to make pesto is in a food processor. I don't have a food processor, so we're not going to do that. Another easy way to make pesto is in a blender, but I don't want to do that because I don't want to clean up the blender afterwards, and it's really loud, and I don't really like the noise of the blender, and certainly the cat does not like the noise of the blender. And she's meowing a lot right now, so you might hear her at some point during the video. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is toast our pine nuts, and we're going to do that on the stove in a pan on medium heat. So I'll get started with that. I'm just going to use about half the container since pine nuts are really expensive. They're definitely the most expensive thing in this recipe. And about half of this container should be plenty for the batch we're going to make today. And hopefully I won't forget about that. But meanwhile, I will chop the garlic. So, of course, pesto has a lot of garlic in it. I think that you can never have too much garlic. So this is certainly not going to be for the faint of heart. So I'm going to put about half of the garlic in the mortar, right? Is this part the mortar? Which part's the pestle and which part's the mortar? I'm not really sure. I don't use this thing too often. In fact, I don't have one, but my girlfriend has this one, probably for making cocktails. I'm just going to put half of our garlic aside. And here's the basil leaves, fresh basil. It's in season right now. All right, I just went ahead and pulled off the leaves from the stems and rinsed them off to get all the dirt off. And something that I did, which is a bit experimental, is I had some mint in the refrigerator, so I threw just a few mint leaves in there. It's going to be interesting. I don't know if it's going to be great, but I feel fairly confident that it won't be terrible. So the traditional tool for making pesto for the chopping part is called a mezzaluna, which means half moon in Italian. I don't have that, but this square knife is pretty good for rocking back and forth. So I like to use that when I cut up various leafy things. Okay, so we're going to take half of our greens, maybe a third. You don't want to overload. Okay, I'm going to turn off the pine nuts and throw a few of them into here as well. Basically, since this is pretty small, we're going to have to do this in a couple batches. So you want to crush the garlic, the pine nuts, and the basil together. You do a little crushing motion like this. And then we're going to grind. And this really gets out all the flavor from the greenery and from the garlic and the pine nuts. It makes everything taste pretty delicious together. And we're also going to put some grated pecorino cheese in there. Most recipes will list Parmesan cheese. Pecorino is really similar to Parm. It's a hard cheese, and it's just a little bit saltier, and the good thing about it is that it's quite a bit cheaper than Parmesan. So we'll just put some pecorino in there. Continue. Right, and the nice thing about toasting the pine nuts is that the heat of them, once you throw them into the mortar, will transfer to everything else that's in there and make your grinding process a bit easier. You might notice that this is a really good arm workout. let's see, what am I working right now? I feel like I'm working my triceps, my lats, and my delts a little bit. Probably the delts is not necessarily a good thing, but that's where I tend to hold tension. So, you know, they get a lot of workout all the time. Once that's looking somewhat pasty, we're going to throw it into this larger bowl and start over with another round of ingredients, which is going to be the garlic, the basil, pine nuts, and the pecorino. So based on the size of my batch, I'm probably going to do 3 rounds. And I can't smell the mint too much, which is probably a good sign. It means that I haven't totally overpowered my basil pesto with mint leaves. Because I tend to overpower many things I make with mint leaves. As you can see, we don't actually have too much yield. I only used about 1.5 cups of basil leaves because that's how many I had. But this is like the perfect quantity to maybe split between 2 people and have on a pasta, or if you wanted to have it as an appetizer, do a little toasting. You know, toast some bread, you can spread that on there. But we're not done with this yet. Okay, so we have everything that's ground up in here. I have these lemon wedges left over from dinner last night, so I'm going to go ahead and squeeze both of them into there. The next thing we want to do is add olive oil. Depends on what consistency you want your pesto sauce to be. If you want it to spread it on a cracker or something, you would probably want it a little chunkier. But if you're going to have it more as a typical sauce, you will put more olive oil. But really you only need enough to bind all of these ingredients, which are here, so I don't know. You know, I trust that you can figure that out. I'm gonna mix that together. This looks delicious. So it's gonna look a lot chunkier probably than a pesto you would buy in the store, because like I said, I didn't want to use a food processor or a blender. Today I really wanted to do it the manual route. Some people say it tastes better. I just think sort of counterintuitively that it's easier to do it that way. But that said, if you don't have a mortar and pestle, you can actually make this with chopping up the leaves even more finely than I did. And that's going to be pretty hard, but it can be done. So this is pretty much it. I'm going to taste it and see if we should add some salt. Wow, the garlic is strong. All right, seems pretty delicious to me, but I'll salt it up. I think I want to add a little more cheese as well. So I'll just throw that in there. Mix it up. Oh, olive oil. It's not chemistry, it's just to taste. So anything you want to alter, definitely try it out. If you want to do something silly like put in mint, try that. And I'd love to hear you know, what you think of to play around with it. So I hope you enjoy this pesto, and yeah, have a lovely summer evening.